Hi, welcome to my video. I will be providing a demo on WorkQ Item Mover. Before we get started, I want to show you my mini lab here. I set up just a single standalone environment, and we'll just call this one Dev1. It has its own little app server and its own little database. Then you have Dev2, same thing, its own little app server and its own little database. And these are independent. And our goal here is to move the work queue items from Dev 1 from one environment to Dev 2 environment. This is common when customers do upgrade. For example, if you're upgrading from Blue Prism version 6 to Blue Prism version 7, it's common to want to move the work queue items over. Here in our little environment, we have these queues, right? And these are our test queues. One of the requirements is the queue has to exist on the destination side, which is Dev 2 here. So we're just going to do a quick demonstration of how this would work. So let's go to our queues. Just click on queue management here. Okay, here you can see all the queues. I'm going to let's pick on this queue. Here we go. This one has 5,503. So, for demonstrative purposes, we don't want it too large. EXC underscore test queue is the one we'll be moving. If you haven't ever used DB Servicer, I recommend you look on the DX, download DB Servicer. Just take a look at the utility itself. It's something that I actually wrote. It does database maintenance and other things for you. You can read up on the product documentation. But I'm just going to utilize DB Servicer to help me with WorkQ Item Mover. So I actually did a upgrade to DB Servicer to handle calling a stored procedure from a VBO, and that's what we'll be using it for today. WorkQ Item Mover is actually a database stored procedure. So it will move the procedure will move the WorkQ item from 1 to 2. Let me open up SQL Server Studio Manager to show you what that might look like. This is the actual stored procedure. And it does checks and other things. You execute the stored procedure, it calls, you pass it a parameter, whatever queue you want it to move, and then you pass it in chunks of X, right? So X here is 1,000, it'll do it 10,000, 1,000 at a time. I'm going to show you the demo from DB Servicer. The reason why I'm not going to do it here is in most cases, I envision a controller or someone doing deployment would actually do it from the front end within the interactive client. Because if you do it here, typically in the way enterprises are set up, you would have to engage like a DBA or something. If you do it from the front end, it gives you more flexibility where you don't need to engage a developer or a DBA. We're going to do it in the front end. And as I stated before, I enhanced DB Servicer to be able to handle calling a stored procedure. So I'm just going to drag it over here. And as you can see, it created a session in pending. And I'm going to set up the startup parameters. So this is DB Servicer. Most of you probably first time seeing this. You can ignore this top part. Okay. What we want to do is this one right here, SQL execute input. Okay. So I'm going to put in the procedure. Okay. So this is the command. I'm going to close this. I'm just going to do start. It's going to give me a warning. It's going to say, hey, you have a blank value up here. We're just going to hit yes. We're just going to ignore it. So just hit yes. I'm aware of it. Just go ahead and run it anyways. So he's going to run. Okay, so remember, we are now in Dev 1. And the idea is to get exe queue items, these things, over to Dev 2 exe queue items right here. Okay, so right now it's blank. It's probably doing some validation right now. It hasn't loaded yet, but we're gonna let it run a few seconds, and we should come back here and be able to see it load. Let me go back to another screen and come back over here, see if it's loaded. Okay, it hasn't finished yet. While it's doing that, I'll show you the work queue item user's guide. So there is a BP work queue items user guide. You can, I'm not going to read through this, but it tells you everything you need to know to get set up and installed. Okay, so it's pretty comprehensive. It's pretty detailed. It should be able to get you going without needing support, but we're here to help if you need support. Down here, it will tell you the stored procedure right here. This should look familiar. It will tell you the command. Like here's an example. We give an example right here. Okay. So documentation is there. Installation scripts is there. Okay. So we're going to go back and check up on our run here, dev2. Let's see if it's loaded yet. Okay, good. It loaded. So you can see it loaded. Looks like 5,503 rows. We're going to go to dev1, make sure that's the right amount that's supposed to be loaded. So if we go here, 5,503 rows. So bingo, right? So this is the right number of rows we were expecting. So it is considered success. That's work queue item mover. We moved from one environment to the next environment. All right, now that we know what work queue item mover is, we've seen the demo. Well, what are the advantages? We know that it moves work queue items from one environment to another. So here are the benefits, right? It saves customers a lot of time for each incremental deployment. So what is the incremental deployment? In a large environment, it's just very hard to say, hey, I'm just going to do an upgrade to all my bots, all my processes, just this one click. We'll upgrade the environment. Everything will be, for example, go from BP6 overnight. We click a button is now BP7, right? It's not that simple because in very large environments, you have to do a lot of regression testing, right? So if you're a client with 100 automations, 100 or more automations, it's interacting with different types of application, like maybe mainframe, Chrome, those types of things. There's a lot you have to consider testing, so you have to do it in increments. So by doing it this way, incremental deployments, you can leverage both environments to parallel environments, and until you can migrate everything from, for example, a BP6 to a BP7 and then turn off the switch for BP6 once everything's been migrated, using work queue item mover will aid you in that process. Okay, easier for customers to migrate from work queue item from one environment to another. We talked through that. It's a much cleaner cutover, right? Every work queue item will move from one BP environment to another and keep its status and data as is, right? So what that means is if your work queue item was in pending before, it'll come over pending. If it was failed status before or completed, it'll move with the status as is. I will say that traditionally, before work queue item mover, what customers had to do was they had to drain one queue, like work all the items in, like say, for example, a Blue Prism 6 environment, that drain it and then start it up on BP7. So once that's been drained, you start up a new process in BP7. That whole maintenance, that whole process can take a lot of time to manage, and it can take like up to 4 hours, even more, depending on your business process, depending on what it's doing. That can be a very cumbersome task to plan all that out. Well, this is much cleaner. Okay, I'm just going to click a button, move everything as is. There's no draining the queue from BP6 and no starting to populate in BP7. I'm just going to move everything. I'm just going to take it, what you got, and just move it to the new environment. Much easier for customers, much faster to do the migration. Okay, and that was work queue item mover. I hope it works for you. And thank you for your time for watching this video.